Not living paycheck to paycheck is more mental than anything else. These quotes are meant to help stimulate a change in how we use our mind to make the best decisions for the challenges life has for each of us. The key takeaways from these quotes is habits and environments. These two things will dictate anyone's likelihood of getting out of a paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. I'm a firm believer in the last quote. If we do not create and control our environment will indeed create and control us. And to give you one example of how environments can control us to unknowingly create a paycheck to paycheck lifestyle, think about this. An environment with tons of unhealthy eating options, fast food, processed food options on every other block. Someone without good eating habits would tend to take advantage of these eating alternatives. And let's say that these lead to health issues. The health issues lead to medical bills. I call this the revolving door of profits for businesses, giving away hard-earned money on the front end and back end solely due to a person's environment and habits. And if a person in this situation averages out the cost of buying this type of food with the cost of hospital visit deductibles and co-pays, and also the cost of prescriptions, it will likely average out to an image of eating steaks, lobsters, and caviar on a weekly basis. I'm definitely not looking to offend anyone, but just point out one of many ways where our environments and habits contribute to a paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. So let's define living paycheck to paycheck. One element is not having any savings to carry you through critical financial commitments if you miss a paycheck or two. You can think of critical financial commitments as those bills that would significantly disrupt you and your family's quality of life if not paid. The next piece is how income and expenses balance out. So if income minus expenses is near zero or negative, this is an indicator of a paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. To be clear, this part can be true, and it cannot be considered a paycheck to paycheck lifestyle if adequate savings are available to hold you over weeks or months without any income or a reduced income. Here are a couple of examples related to negligible savings or debt accumulation. A person can accumulate debt by borrowing money to make ends meet. This is via credit cards, payday loans, friends and family, etc. The last piece is the routine nature of it. It repeats every pay cycle. So 3 pieces define the paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. Insufficient savings. Ability to save and stay out of growing debt is not possible, and this cycle repeats itself. This is something that was highly emphasized in a management webinar that I also want to emphasize here. Although this applies to every aspect of life, if we want to get out of a paycheck to paycheck lifestyle, make sure this is burned into your memory so you never forget it. What we don't measure, we can't control. So anything we are trying to control, we must measure some type of data points. Whether it's water in our homes, electricity in our homes, gas usage in our homes, blood pressure, the gas in our cars, etc. Something is being measured to control a result. What we don't measure, we cannot control. There are numerous factors that could lead someone into a paycheck to paycheck lifestyle unwillingly. Here are a few of those factors. I just want to be clear. This video will primarily attempt to address these particular factors: lack of knowledge in basic finance, finance management discipline, not sticking to a budget, and not making finances easily visible. To emphasize again, this is an attempt to share knowledge on how to be proactive in measuring our situation so we can better control our future. In measuring our finances, 5 pieces to the puzzle. Start with the end in mind. Understand where we can get data from. Develop a routine to get the data. Go get the data and organize it, and then analyze the data. Starting with the end in mind. In other words, this is saying think like you are your own customer. What end product do you want as the customer? The two questions to the left need to be answered. First, what do I want to measure, or what do I want to get a better understanding of? Where my money goes monthly, where my money goes weekly. Different ways I can plan to spend my money, weekly or monthly. How much I spend on fixed expenses, how much I spend on variable or controllable expenses, how much I spend on taxes, on interest, how much I can save given my income and expenses. And if you haven't done this before, I would recommend starting small, like just measuring weekly groceries, gas for transportation, and fast food expenses. The second question relates to how do you want to see the data? Since this can grow into a lot of data being collected, it's not ideal to stare at the raw data to try to make sense of it. It's best to turn data into concise visual representations of the data. So list what type of visual would be helpful for you as the customer, whether that's a written summary, a data table, a pie chart like the ones here to the right, a bar chart. Whether or not you want to see this information expressed in dollar amounts, or quite possibly you want to see them in percentages. Now this step taps into a creative nature. Not everyone has this ability. If this step triggers a feeling of anxiety, I would recommend looking for a partnership with a friend or family member that loves this type of stuff. Please don't force yourself into this analysis because you may work against yourself in getting the results you want. These are typical sources of data. I personally rely heavily on mobile apps with my banking institution for debit card transactions. I also use paycheck stubs and credit card statements. I would also tell you that personal memory for cash transactions, if you don't get a receipt, is very challenging. Try to avoid using personal memory if possible. Write it down or voice record the transaction to harness the data later. Now, steps 3 and 4 are all about developing a habit. This is a sample routine or program to rehearse to internalize a new habit. The idea is to develop muscle memory so you don't really have to think about it. So here's the simple routine. Step 1. Whenever I spend any money, make sure I note it for spending analysis at the end of a day, a week, or a month. Step 2. At the end of each day, transfer notes into a tracking notebook to keep all data together in the same place. In step 3, try to categorize expense data as best as possible and stay consistent. Analyzing the data is the fun part. This is where you gain control of your spending by identifying opportunities to make adjustments. This can be done in different ways. Longhand is using simple tools if technology apps are confusing. Finance apps can save time, but may take some time up front in getting familiar with how to work it. And this last alternative is my personal way of analyzing my own data. I enjoy building my own analysis formulas and visual representations. Here is an example data capture setup. This is an Excel setup. Most of the columns can be pre-populated for the whole week or month, so I only need to enter data for 3 columns at the end of the day. 2 entries, bucket and bucket sub-item, relate to how I chose to categorize expenses for consistency. The last entry, amount, speaks for itself. All of the columns are attributes, or in other words, different character traits for each line item entry. This gives me the ability to filter, sort, and create different visual representations for each different character trait. Basically, I'm looking at the same data from multiple different perspectives to identify opportunities to optimize spending and saving. One perspective. On the left, the table captured data related to a planned expense and the actual spending for mortgage, fast food, groceries, and gas. In table format, you can highlight where the budget was exceeded to do a deeper analysis of why. The below chart shows the same data, just in a bar chart format where bar height jumps out when the actual is higher than the forecast. On the right, data was captured throughout 1 week. In the table format, you can see the total money spent for any one day if you look at the last column. And you can also see the total spent for any of the items for the entire week by looking at the last row. Finally, you also have the total amount of money spent of $432. These numbers can be compared to any budget you have set for the week. The below chart clearly shows you where spending spiked to again do a deeper analysis to understand why. Here are more ways to analyze finances. On the left, we are comparing income to expense. This can be for a week, month, or entire year. Up to you. The sales are highlighted red because $475 is $25 less than what I forecasted my income to be. And $432 is more than what I forecasted my expenses to be. This should trigger a deeper analysis to again understand why. The below chart is the same data, but in bar chart format. On the right is another example, but showing how income and expenses actually realized are favorable in relation to the forecast. As you build this habit and your analysis skills, this would be the ultimate goal for long-term planning. Businesses use this religiously. A cash flow statement. I actually use this for my household. We should all view ourselves as a business. This analysis helps to plan long-term. When you start building data over years, you can analyze how various aspects of your finances are trending year to year and what the major drivers are. This table covers 10 years, 2 years of actual data erased for this video, and 8 years of forecasting. Major components of the cash flow is gross income, where any and all potential sources of income is captured. Row 39 is analyzing the year-over-year variance, meaning if my gross income for any following year is more or less than the previous year, I have either a positive percent or negative percent, so I can go understand why. Other components of my household cash flow statement are pre-tax deductions and tax deduction that you can get primarily from your paycheck stub depending on your situation. And the last component is expenses, to where I've broken mine down into automobiles, household, lifestyle, healthcare, and credit card payments. Row 148 would show if savings were realized or possible in relation to the income and expense data. In conclusion, the journey to getting away from a paycheck-to-paycheck lifestyle is likely to happen in steps as you develop new habits and environments. If you stay the course, I'm confident anyone will improve their situation. When you can clearly see what's going on, you can do something about it, versus when you are blind and don't know where to start. Key message: life is challenging. We all need help in understanding how best to navigate it in a way that results in the least amount of stress. Navigating finances is one area that leads to a lot of stress for many individuals. Take comfort in knowing that people are here to help, but the help is only beneficial to those who have a burning desire to help themselves. Focus on developing new habits and establishing the right environments to increase your probability of success in leaving the paycheck-to-paycheck lifestyle behind. This is not just about doing the work, but about changing your psychology for long-term gains. Continue building your knowledge and partnering with the right people. These are crucial elements for living your best life. Knowledge is power.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.